Okay, we're live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Begin the regular scheduled meeting of the Monroe County.
No, I wish we were.
Family Conservation Board.
Yes.
Back on some doors. And then there's a ranch building right there.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, yeah, we need it.
The emergency exits are on either end of the building. The handicap exit to the left-hand side and right across from our door here. Cheryl, could you please call the roll?
Clark Mahaney.
Here.
Janine Clark. Here. Steve Rutherford.
Here.
Carrie Whipple. Here. Lewis, and as far as right now, absent.
All right, thank you. Everybody had a chance to look over the minutes from last month. And are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Make a motion that we approve the February 27th meeting minutes.
Okay,
I'll second.
been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Cheryl, take roll.
Clark Mahaney.
Abstain.
Janine Clark.
Yes.
Steve Rutherford.
Yes,
Carrie Whipple.
Yes.
all right, thank you. Jenny, planning board.
Okay, let's jump right into that. It's a long meeting. Monday, March 6th, planning board meeting, there were 3 public hearings. Four public hearings. The first public hearing was for Michael Boss of 47 and 74 King Street. He was seeking commercial site plan modification to operate his trucking business known as Boss Diesel Service. He has submitted an EAF, an environmental assessment form, the short form. His business is located at 47 King Street. His trucks are parked and staged at 74 King Street. The chairperson of the planning board opened the public hearing. The owner of the property, known as Crosby's, had some issues in that the parking complex showed that some people were parking on that property. And the fire marshal also spoke and said that the large diesel fuel tank that had been between 2 buildings was moved to 74 King Street where the large business trucks are parked, and that the inspection of the building showed that there are 2 firewalls, so there were no issues from the fire marshal. It's an unlisted negative declaration seeker, and so it was approved with a contingency that the notice of decision will be issued after all the engineering fees have been paid. So there's still that issue to be resolved. The second public hearing was for Jeremy Bauer, 53 King Street. He is seeking a commercial site plan modification. He operates a small engine repair and motorcycle storage business at 53 King Street. And this application, as well as the prior one I just mentioned, is in the commercial general business zone. The shop is only open by appointment, so parking is not, for customers, is not really an issue. There were some concerns about some safety features where if any flammables are being stored. There's a decent exhaust fan. So the fire marshal looked over the building, he inspected the shop, and he said it appears to have a fireproof wall. There is a hole in the wall that does need to be repaired with fire tape, but it is an unlisted action under seeker. So again, this was approved, and the notice of decision will be issued after this applicant pays all of his fees to the town. The next public hearing, and I'm going to actually combine the next 2 public hearings were with the same person, Steve Delaney, 2431 Brick Schoolhouse Road. Steve Delano was proposing to subdivide his 20-acre property into 2 code compliant lots. And lot 1 will be developed with a new single family home served by an existing driveway, proposed water service, and a proposed on-site septic system. And the second lot will contain the existing home, which will share the driveway with lot 1. This is in the RVL zoning district. And I'm combining that with the second public hearing because the first public hearing was about splitting the property, and the second public hearing for that same property was about building the single family home. The only one who spoke at the public hearing was a neighbor who's known them for over 20 years and he doesn't have any issues. This is an unlisted seeker. There were no negative comments from the board. So it was approved for the property split, and it was also approved for the commercial, not commercial, for the residential preliminary single lot subdivision. Again, it's an unlisted action, so there were no issues. The last public hearing was for 1668 Redmond Road. It's a farm labor camp from Brightly Farms. This has received all its approvals required for a farm labor camp from the ZBA. It has the Department of Public Health signature of approval. No one spoke at the public hearing. This is also considered an unlisted negative declaration under seeker. They were granted the approval for the Brightly Farm labor camp. On the agenda was Mary Jo Beers, 7640 Newport Drive. She was seeking a conservation corridor development permit to install the additional riprap along the Lake Ontario shoreline. 167 feet will be armored with additional 1 to 3 ton rocks with geotextile fabric placed below landward of the existing 3 to 8 ton rocks. There will be no excavation or filling below the mean high water line. This is shoreline residential, CHA, Coastal Erosion Hazard Area, and in the LWRP. They already received, Mary Jo Beers already received her CHA permit from the ZBA. It is consistent with the policies of the LWRP. It's a type 2 action under seeker, which means there's no environmental issues. And so the conservation corridor development was granted. There was another conservation corridor development permit for Brian Donovan, 5910 West Watoma Beach Road. He wants to add an additional 30 feet of armor stone for bank stabilization and erosion control. Shoreline Residential District. The DOS, Department of State, has submitted a document of general consistency, and it is, by my determination, consistent with the policies of our LWRP. It is in the LWRP, the floodplain, and they also had to get a CHA permit from the ZBA, which they have gotten. Type 2 action, so this was approved. On the agenda was a residential sketch plan for Don Soames of 530 Morton Road. This is lot 2 of the Heverly Soames subdivision, and the intent is to obtain approval for a single family home with associated improvements on an 8.85 acre lot in the RL zoning district. Yankee Creek is within 200 feet from the proposed dwelling, and there is a DEC wetland along Yankee Creek, right. So we will, in addition to approvals, need a conservation development permit. At this point, it has just been scheduled for a public hearing to come back to the planning board on April 3rd. Next item on the agenda was a property split and residential sketch plan from Thomas Mann. This has been up on the agenda back and forth for a while. Thomas Mann was seeking the property split at 179 Church Road. One of the lots will contain a dwelling and the other parcel will contain a horse farm. It's in the RVL and Ag District. We did get variances from the ZBA from minimum lot size, minimum required lot width, and an area variance, so he has received those. There were some additional engineering concerns that have to be addressed, and if he's good with that, a public hearing has been scheduled for next month at the planning board. Under discussion, there were several public hearings that were scheduled, and Clark will address those in his town board report. And the farmland protection plan is just waiting for the funds from the agreements. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Dean. I attended both the Fish Advisory Board and the EMC meeting. The Fish Advisory Board, we are trying to address a potential problem whereby DEC wants to cancel the State of the Lake meetings, and we found out it's being kind of forced by the charter captains that really don't care about it. But we feel that the average Joe fisherman has a lot to benefit by those meetings, so we're writing a letter out for that. We are also looking at long and short-term goals for the Fish Advisory Board, so that we can go in and start asking for more money for different projects, namely the website that we now have, and the amount of money that we have to put in to get it out to a lot of people. The DEC and Rockport College are teaming up to put in net pens out in around Coit Bay for the study of what they call a Cisco. Before, DEC had just been planting the Ciscos into around Coit Bay, but they have not done very well. So they hope that by putting them into net pens and feeding them for a while, that they will stabilize and they will get off to a better start, because there is and grow a little bit, because there is quite a bit of predation in around Coit Bay for them. The Cisco is a member of the whitefish family, which was once quite prevalent in Lake Ontario until it was commercially fished out. It's also a very important food fish for our lake trout. So we want fish, we got to feed them. And so this is a method to try to get back this particular fish into the food chain. Secondly, right here on Sandy Creek, despite our calls for more salmon, some tributary fishermen finally got DEC to allow them to net pen raise steelhead trout for Sandy Creek this year. So right now that's all going on, and I'm not sure when they're going to get their fish, but I know that Genesee River will be getting their fish sometime next week, I think. So that would.
Are these nets, the pens are going to be in the creek, or they're going to fish?
The net pens are going to be in the creek. We have a local guide that is allowed them to use his property, put the net pens on. And, so they'll be trexing in down on his property to feed the little guys. And, then they'll be released about 2 to 3 weeks later, depending upon, what we get for water temperatures. So it's always been a water temperature thing here for Sandy Creek. So, moving into the EMC meeting, it was a very, very long meeting. What we discussed basically was the Monroe County Health Department and its many, many, many different departments that fall under the health department. And it covers everything from insects and rodents to mental health and immunizations and everything in between. And there is even a department in there to help the immigrants that are coming into Monroe County. Right now we're getting a lot of Ukrainians and Haitians. They still have their TB clinics. One of the other things that is they have a very large department pertaining to child health, and they cover everything from immunizations to WIC, to helping families out that have children with food and potable water and clothing, and different needs that those children might have. And also with that, with the children and with adults, they have a very large mental health department. But it's just amazing what our counties have in store for people. And they look up on the computer at the Monroe County Health Department. They can find just about anything that they need. So another big one is with the kids is believe it or not, is sexual health, because there seems to be a lot of syphilis reemerging, not only in adults but in children as well. So that was it for that. Clark, yeah, for us.
A town board meeting of March 13th, 2023. Started off with a public forum by the Rightleys. They would like to rescind the law for wind farms that was enacted in 2017. The law states the 2 windmills are taxable. And New York State Ag and Markets disagrees with that. They said windmills should not be taxed if they're used are for agricultural use, which the Rightleys are. So the master plan is to protect the agriculture in Hamlin to keep farming sustainable. So Steve Laws said that they will check into rescinding that law. They had their approval of their town minutes from the March meeting, approval of the payment of bills, supervisor's report, And then they were considering local law number 1-2023. It's a long thing, so I have to. The first vet law was in reference to fencing. There's a lot to it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Motion was made and it was passed to accept that law. Second was on noise. Again, it's long. It's to set the rules for noise, what constitutes noise, how loud it has to be a problem, what time loud noise cannot be tolerated, such as that. And that was carried also. Then they considered negative declaration of the environmental significance introduced by law number 3-223, setting forth procedures for permitting and processing of battery storage systems. Again, rather long talk on that. They didn't discuss it long, but it's all written long, so I'm not going to go into all that because it would take us way too long. Here, so then they approved the number of conservation board members of the conservation board. The town recognizes that they will be 7-member. No. Hamlin shall consist of 5 members. State says it can have not less than 3 or more than 9. They agreed that the town board of Hamlin will allow 7 members on the conservation board. And they approved the purchase of installation of a standby generator to be installed at Curtis Lane sewer lift station for the purpose of providing power in the event of a grid power loss. Approval to purchase a 1-ton 2023 Chevy 3500 HD 4-wheel drive dual rear wheel pickup truck.
Can I stop you from was it conservation board is 5 members or 7 members? As you said,
It's 5 members. I made a mistake.
Okay.
And they accepted a quoted service for a contract from Eminger, Newton, Pigeon, and Magyar for the property reassessment project. And then the library had a harp and cello performance, Lego building, pull tabs, ancestry program, and would like funding zoning board of appeals. We will hear from. Supervisor Boss said they'll go ahead and order with the contractor for the history center, the renovations they're going to try to do there. And the farmland protection plan has been signed. The money will hopefully be here by June or July. And the highway department is working on driveway repairs at Curtis Station number 1 and removing trees. For the recreation Hamlin, the camp week went well. They're walking in the gym, picked up more before and after school kids. And sports numbers are down. Hoping to get a women's league. They have older young ladies that are too old for the programs that they've got right now for baseball, and would like to have a women's league going, so we're looking into that. Rockport Central School has approved the veterans exemption for school taxes. And since they talked about the senior exemption at the seniors meeting a couple of months ago, I think they did, seniors asking for that exemption, seeking that exemption, doubled to 190. Things are going well in the town's clerk's office. The sewers are moving along. They were scheduled, I believe they probably had the zoning workshop on the 16th at 7 o'clock, and the topics they were going to cover were tiny homes and wind farm laws. They were saying that the west side news delivery has been hit and miss. I don't think they were talking about the delivery though. That was more putting our information in it because they're the official newspaper for Hamlin. And that was about it.
All right, thank you, Clark.
Zoning board, so this was a pretty good meeting, lots more discussion than typical, seemed like. So the first thing was a public hearing for James and Jenny Lynch at 1360 Lake Road. They want chickens on their lot that's less than an acre. So they're requesting 6 chickens on about 4/10 of an acre lot. There was discussion about waste and that sort of thing, and then the board ultimately approved it. That. The next one was a public hearing for Nathan and Amy Smith at 6984 Benedict Beach Road, and they want to construct a pole barn, and there was some discussion about the height of the pole barn. So it's they needed approval to make it big enough to make it the height that they wanted, over 15 feet high is what the code says. They initially wanted 21 feet, but after the engineer looked at it, they needed to be a little bit more than that. So, so they're gonna reapply for and have another public hearing next month after they re-notify the neighbors that the height will be up to 22 feet. There's also the impervious surface calculation is a little bit more than they requested initially. I think the initial request was like 15%, and then it's going to be about 18% now. So they have to re-advertise for another public hearing because they increased the size. The next one was a public hearing about an accessory use variance for Keeler Construction for their mine at 1700 Moscow Road. I just want to make sure that they have 2 properties, but this one was only about 1700 Moscow Road. So they want to mine an additional 10.32 acres of the mine, and then they wanted to process some of their debris, construction and demolition debris at that location.
Now they're going to reopen that.
Yeah, so it's unclear if they kind of intermittently use it. Is what I gathered.
Yeah, they do use it intermittently, but now they want to add it to the total life of the mine.
Right.
So they have an extra leeway of 10.32 acres, as was stated, and they're gonna mine the whole mine,
Okay,
the whole area that's
we can go in and get gravel there now.
I don't,
There was discussion about a gate and they don't want trespassers.
yeah, they were adamant about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You buy the gravel, I mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can buy gravel from them, yeah, I would assume, yeah. So there you go. So there was some neighbors that were there, that had some concerns about, how deep they were gonna go related to the water table, and if there was any contamination of the water. And then there was some concern about if they were gonna mine right up to near the property line with the straight vertical, and so there's a farmer, I think, Jim Birch, as well as a neighbor, he was concerned about the wind kicking up some of that dust and gravel, and said he can't grow cherries anymore because of the wind pulling up that debris from the mine. So there was discussion about a berm, adding a berm with some trees on the top of it, and the slope of the berm and that sort of thing. And there was discussion about the hours of operation to have concern for the neighbors. So they ultimately agreed to grant the accessory use permit based on those conditions, that it can't be any more than 32 feet. They put hours of operation, and that there will be berms to work with they need to work with the neighbors to address concerns. That was a pretty good discussion. And then the next thing was something just an agenda. So a first time person, Nathan Pacelli at 61 Hillcrest Drive. And again, asking for chickens. He wants 5 or 6 chickens on less than an acre. So there were, and actually he wants 50 quail as well. So that was something different. And he has a DEC permit to be a domestic game bird breeder. So he's gonna raise quails and chickens. So they scheduled a public hearing for that for next month. Then the next thing on the agenda was for Kathleen Martin at 6968 Benedict Beach Road for a coastal erosion hazard area permit. This is the geothermal heating cooling system, but they didn't show up, so that was tabled this time if they are still interested in pursuing.
which they are going to, they totally, yes.
All right, thank you. Janine?
The Friends, is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about? The Friends had their first meeting since last fall. And it was pretty brief, but it was well attended. The big thing that we discussed is that the Friends are going to be hosting volunteers for I Love My Park Day again, as we've done from, I think this is like 10 or 11 years we've done this.
Right.
It's actually a statewide event, and individual parks and historic sites and et cetera around the park do this on the first Saturday in May, which in this year is Saturday, May 5th. And so if people are interested in volunteering, they should register, they need to register. And I've written down the registration, it's PTNY, which stands for parksandtrailsnewyork.org, and then there's more to it. I'll give Cheryl that address and she can put it in the minutes.
Okay.
And the park is registered, and then volunteers can begin registering probably in early April. I looked at the site today and it isn't open yet, but they're striving for opening volunteer registration in early April. So again, I'm sure I'll post the website if people are interested in volunteering.
All right, any reports for the zoning workshop?
No, I was not able to attend.
All righty, we'll go into adjournment of this meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this part of the meeting.
Who seconded that we adjourn this portion of the meeting? Members poll?
Mark Mahaney,
Yes.
Janine Clark,
Yes.
Steve Rutherford,
Yes.
Terry Whipple,
Yes.
Louis Vincenti.
Yes.
All right, we'll go right into the Hamlin Waterfront Committee with the same members present. We have any referrals?
Did not do any inspections this past month. It looks like I might have a few next month, and I'll let you know then.
All right, do we have any discussion?
I just want to bring to everybody's attention that before our next meeting, we will be having the tree giveaway.
And that will be, in the newspaper, the end of the first week of April, to remind everyone.
And the date is,
April 22nd,
okay, I see it here, Saturday, April 22nd,
from 9 to 11 in the parking lot.
until all the trees are given.
What do we have for trees this year? Do you remember?
Green ones.
We're hoping they're
I
green.
think we have the same ones we had last year. I
Yeah,
think we have the balsam.
The
think we have-
balsam and the Colorado blue are going to be transplants, which are a little bit larger, have a more substantial root system. And then the seedlings are Norway spruce,
Spruce.
white spruce,
Spruce.
and white pine.
Mhm.
And there'll be 600 of them to give away.
Yes.
And last year, we didn't have any trouble giving all of them away.
No.
We actually gave them, they were doing a much better job of getting them to us in a bundled better, so we didn't, in years past, we had to like try to separate them. and it was
right,
damaging the roots, so they've got them all individually wrapped. I'm trying to remember, but they were in bundles of 10, I think. And so last year, we divided them and made everybody take at least 5, so you don't have to keep ripping them apart. And also, not all of them survive, so if somebody says, well, I only want one.
right.
Well, take 5 because you may only have
Yeah.
1 or 2 that will survive, so. But they were bundled much nicer last year, and I hope they continue to do it that way.
All right, Cheryl, you'll email me when they're ready to pick up.
Yes, yes, I'll email you all the information.
Okay,
Pickup, I think, is Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday is the giveaway.
right,
And I think we have 2 residents from Hamlin who are desiring to have you pick up theirs also.
Okay.
Bring them here to pick up.
okay, as long as I have all the
Mhm.
information for it.
Mhm.
Okay, anybody have anything else? All right, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, we adjourn the conservation board meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Bye.
Aye. All opposed?